Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and I am running late today. It is 10 to 1 and I'm only just getting this thing recorded. I went to the beach with the missus and the dog and then we got breakfast. So yeah, apologies for the late video. Let's get into it. Over 2/3 of the Bitcoin supply has not moved in over 1 year, making a new all-time high for the Bitcoin hodl wave. Nobody is selling. If you didn't sell now, you're not going to. And this is exactly what this data shows, so that is great. All that is left are the diamond hands, the strong holders, the people with long-term understanding and conviction. Bitcoin and crypto is on the cusp of really going mainstream, according to MasterCard's chief digital officer. So this is great, this is adoption, and I'm sure we'll continue to see continued adoption. France's third largest bank has officially registered to offer Bitcoin to clients, and I think this GIF right here kind of sums it up. The dominoes are indeed falling. One by one we are seeing this thing. The dominoes do not come back up after they have fallen. It just continues on a chain reaction. So get ready to continue to see more of these banks continue to offer Bitcoin to their clients. Got a nice chart here from Stock Money Lizards that shows we have a very deep MACD cross on Bitcoin. You know what I think? Couple of weeks left until we can hit this cycle low, and then I think it's time to go. By then I would expect the blue short-term line for the MACD to have started to gap across the slower black line, and therefore the look will start to morph into one of these. I expect this histogram to start building a nice green peak like we're seeing here, and we will see Bitcoin's price move up as a result of this. Now I wanted to draw your attention to this. I made a video in National Emergency on the Sri Lanka collapse, and I said, can it happen to the UK, the USA and Europe? So if you haven't seen that, you can go and check that out. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because out of chaos comes order, okay? And out of the chaos of the collapse of Sri Lanka, we have now seen Sri Lankans being required to have a digital ID fuel pass with a QR code to ration the weekly amount of fuel that they are allowed. The National Fuel Pass will guarantee a weekly quota for each vehicle, according to the Power and Energy Minister. So what we are seeing here is that out of chaos comes order. They have destroyed this entire country. They've destroyed the entire economy. They had the people overrunning the president's house and swimming in his pool. All of that was in the video I made. You can go and see that if you're unaware of all of that. One thing we do know is that, like I keep saying, out of chaos comes order. They have this chaos, they create this chaos, and then what comes out of this is new draconian laws, new tyrannical laws, things like digital IDs and QR codes. And in case you're thinking that this could never happen here, I'm sure by now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll be well aware that anything can and will happen here. But this also ties in with a story that was going around yesterday, that Tesco banned a man from buying a sandwich until he downloaded an app. Now, I think it's important to point out, here the guy is, by the way, on Twitter. He tells this story and blah, 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 blah. So you can go and see that. I'm not going to give this any more energy than it really deserves. But I want to point this out. Like, I don't believe this actually happened. I don't believe this is a real thing. I don't believe they could actually refuse someone from buying a sandwich because they didn't download an app. So I don't believe that. I think what instead we're seeing is they're trying to prime the public for this sort of thing, for the digital IDs, for not being able to buy or sell without the digital ID, without a QR code, without some sort of track and trace type thing. Digital IDs are being rolled out worldwide. And Bitcoin is the exit as well as gold, okay? And I say this because if you don't have Bitcoin, which is a censorship-resistant, permissionless, peer-to-peer way of transacting, okay? If you don't have this, then, and you don't have physical gold in your hand, although that's not very divisible, okay? So physical gold is going to be a bit more difficult. Maybe that's where silver comes in. I think it's good to hold both as well as Bitcoin. But if you do not have a way to transact without being within the confines of a CBDC which is tied to your digital ID, then you are not going to have any freedom whatsoever. I'm also, as a side note here, looking into Zcash at the moment. This has been recommended by a viewer, subscriber. So I am indeed looking into that, but I want to be sure I know exactly what I'm looking at before I cover that. But that is coming. Zcash is, as far as I can tell, a more private version of Bitcoin. It's not to say that I'm not a believer in Bitcoin. I will always hold and believe in Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin is freedom, but it does appear to me that Zcash does have superior privacy. I think that comes with its own set of potential restrictions or limitations, because I think the privacy could be a target for regulation in the future. But like I said, I'm not fully researched in this, but I'm just mentioning this because I know Z for Zcash is going to want me to cover this in the near future, and I will be. So back to digital IDs, we can see here that these are happening in Korea, these are happening in Canada, and we're seeing this call for India to adopt them. We're also seeing that the UK digital ID scheme needs present. So apparently the need for one of these digital IDs over here has shown up. So I don't see the need. I'm sure you don't see the need. But remember, some people somewhere do. HSBC are advertising this, that your DNA will be your data in the future and linked to these sort of passport things. Nobody likes this. Nobody wants this. And this is why it's important to exit the system using Bitcoin, gold, and crypto. So as I said, Bitcoin is the exit. We are getting close. We're getting close to seeing this MACD cross. As I showed you at the beginning of this video, we are getting dangerously close to that cycle low. We know it's coming. At the same time, everyone is expecting a market crash, aren't they? Everyone thinks that this market crash is coming and everyone is going to be rich. But of course, that is not how market crashes work. These are the puts at record levels. Look, let me just point out, this is the C19, the COVID plunge back here. Okay, the 2016 sell-off, the 2008 financial crisis. Look where we are today, over 50% higher than the 2008 crisis. Okay, so if we really did morph into a look like this, if we really did go down another 50% from here, then this will be the first crash in history in which every market participant got stinking rich. Not going to happen, in my opinion. Let's jump into some charts because I've got a couple of things to say on this. I keep noticing around Twitter and on YouTube that every time we break below this low, everyone's convinced we're going down 50%. Oh, 1500 S&P incoming. No, it's not. Not in my opinion. And every time we get one of these sort of engulfing candles and start to move up, people get incredibly bullish and say, you know, this is what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen is point number one. But point number two is we do know we have to print a cycle low at the end of the month. That has to happen. Whether we go up and drop into it or whether we bleed down into it, or whether we go sideways and drop into it, we know we've got to drop into this cycle low. This is true alpha. A lot of people keep trying to time this market and they're not aware of the cycles. Okay. If you're not aware of the cycles, then every time we start to go up, you're going to think that's the bottom. And every time we start to go down, you're going to think that we're falling. Neither one of these is true. Okay, we know that we have not elapsed enough time yet because right here, we're on day 29. Okay, there's no chance of forming a cycle low yet. We have to elapse at least another 5 or 6 more sessions before we can entertain it. And even that would be early. 40 would be bang average. And that would bring us to the end of the month. So a little bit more patience. It's nearly time to go. I did originally at some point show that maybe this is what we were doing, this sort of chop around. I said back here, maybe that's kind of what we're going to do, continue to chop around and then go. But either way, we have got to drop into this cycle low at the end of the month first. Maybe it'll end up looking something more like this. Okay, that remains to be seen. But one thing we do know, more time is needed. And then we can start to get excited, I think. Same is true of the NASDAQ and the Dow. FTSE 100 looks like it's doing what I thought it might, which is that it's going to form a new base, and then we can move this trend line over. I'm just waiting to see confirmation of this. I'm waiting for the cycles in the S&P and the US equities to form, and then I think we can entertain some longs, maybe one more dive down, and then we can go out of that. So a little bit more patience. Coinbase, MicroStrategy, all of the Bitcoin miners, all of these are coming into focus, aren't they? Another 2 weeks and then we can start scaling into these. Well, I'm going to anyway. Obviously you do you. Tesla looks like it's going to open right at resistance. So is this going to lead? Is this going to lead? If it is going to, I think it's just a little bit too early at this point. So maybe a breakout retest resumption. That would be a beautiful entry in my opinion. Maybe Apple as well. Look, it's going to open right into resistance. Are we going to see these two companies lead? Remember, we've got earnings coming up at the end of the month, right when that S&P cycle low is due. So perhaps we're going to see some front running of that. Breakout retest resumption all day long. That is what I'll be looking for. Oil continues to sort of bleed, so that is what it is. We'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of move up, but that remains to be seen. Gold, I drew this line on the 2-hour chart. I'll zoom in on the 2 hours so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. So I think when we can get a breakdown of this, that will yield the final half of this cycle. So if I go back to a regular daily chart, you can see here, that's where that blue line comes from. I think essentially this is going to look a little bit like this. So I think we're just right around here. We're getting this half cycle bounce before we drop down into the remaining portion of the cycle. So that remains to be seen. A couple more days of up, and then I think we're going to continue on our path down towards that daily cycle low for gold. Bitcoin. Look, if Bitcoin breaks out of this, it's going to have all of Twitter and YouTube going absolutely crazy. Especially if this happens in the next couple of days, people are going to be thinking, oh, wow, look at this go. But I can tell you with near certainty that even if we were to break out of this, we still have to drop into that cycle low. we're still, all the time we're between where we are now and say 25, this still counts as a net sideways move. We're still contained well within this range here. So I kind of expect this to break out. I think they would do that on purpose to trap a lot of balls before dropping it into that cycle low. Again, this is alpha. Not many people are looking at these cycle counts. Not many people are aware of these. So any move out of here will certainly get people excited, but then I believe it will immediately drop back down into this cycle low before it can truly go. However, when we get there, you know what I think? It's time to go. Same is true of Ethereum. Look, you could argue Ethereum's kind of half broken out of this. This is a bit of a crudely drawn line. We've had false dawn here. Is this another false dawn? I would think so. Perhaps we do something like this and then drop down into that cycle low. But then I believe it's time to go. XRP is still consolidating, long and strong. Continue to push. The dollar, it looks like for now the top is in. We've had our first warning sign, a retest, now rolling over. I've been saying it over and over again. Because of where the cycles are and everything else, you kind of expect this to chop around in the end of the month before testing that. Does it have to break down? No, but I think it will at least test this red line in the near future. And the chart of truth, the 10-year yield back above 4%, so not good, but it looks like it's going to work its way up to 4.5%. It's pricing in a 75 basis point hike, of course, so we will continue to monitor this. It doesn't start to get exciting for risk on or for anything else, in fact, for me, until we break down from this blue line. But I think that can come towards the end of the month as well, as the charts and the cycle count is sort of pointing us in that direction. So that's it from me. If you want to see how I potentially add to this gold short on over the next couple of days to take the gold short down to the bottom of the cycle count, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you want to see how I scale into these miners and Bitcoin and Ethereum positions over the next 2 or 3 weeks, then make sure you're subscribed and turn the notifications on as well. If you want to see me trade the S&P, Apple and Tesla out of these cycle lows, then also make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for all the support I get on Twitter and on the YouTube channel and the comment section. I really, really appreciate it. The support has been overwhelming, to tell you the truth. So I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can continue to provide you with content that you enjoy. I certainly love to make it. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves. All the best. Cheers. Bye.